What is going on, my fellow Martians? Welcome back to another episode of Mixed Martial Arts, a podcast where we explore the topics of UAP, UFC, and World War III, today being a UAP episode. Now, I'm getting it in a little late. I think it's like 6 o'clock at night, but I've been very, very busy. But I had to come on today. Now, I don't have any breaking headlines for you, so if you're looking for some sort of news update on the UFO phenomenon, I'm sorry I'm going to let you down today. But what I do have is a fascinating discussion, something that I felt was worth bringing up, and that is, there's a couple things to this. The first being, let's start at the freaking beginning. The UFO phenomenon, to me, personally, and to many others, millions around the world, is the most fascinating subject a human could possibly discuss with somebody else. I look around on a daily basis, and I'm so bored with seeing what most people talk about. The average Joe is talking about their bills, their job, the gym, what's new on TV, the presidents, and politics and all these things, which there's a place for all of them. I'm not here to discount anything, but I'm simply here to say it's the most fascinating thing you could possibly discuss. And if you are struggling, for one, to find a place where you can follow this phenomenon with other people who are interested, you did just land on a great place, Mixed Martial Arts, where we discuss this stuff on a near daily basis. I just find it to be so utterly fascinating. And at the end of the day, why I made this video is just because I want to get across the point that no matter what the UFO phenomenon is, of which there is a lot of theories, there is a lot, I see them every day, all over the place. There's so many, and who am I to discredit a single one? I will not do such a thing because I am a dummy who knows nothing about nothing. I'm no expert. But at the end of the day, if you bring this phenomenon, not only is it the most interesting thing to talk about, but it is 100% irrefutable. There's many aspects of this phenomenon you could debate. Is it aliens? Is it demons? Is it AI technology? Is it just advanced drones? Is it adversarial tech? Is it aliens from Mars? Or is it creatures within the Earth's crust? There's so many theories, but at the end of the day, there's one thing that I think is irrefutable, and I would not debate somebody about it, and it is the fact that there is some sort of reality. There's some sort of truth to this phenomenon. Now that's it. That's pretty much where you can cut it off and say anything past that point is basically speculation to you or me, to civilians of the population. I do believe at the end of the day, there is a certain amount of people, maybe it's a very small group, maybe only a few dozen, maybe a few hundred, maybe 1,000, who knows, that are maybe in the government, private aerospace, military, so on and so forth, who do know a lot more about this than you and I. But since we are not privy to the evidence, we're privy to a lot of people talking about things and speculation and interviews, and I give a lot of credence to a lot of them, such as the newest whistleblower in the spotlight, David Grush. I give a lot of credibility to people who've served in the government for a long time who then come out and kind of turn the gun back on them and say, hey, there is something to this, and the government's hiding it. But at the end of the day, there is 100% a fact here, and that fact that is indisputable is that there's a reality to the phenomenon. There's a truth to it. It's not all hearsay. It's not all made up. There's a lot of people who do make shit up, 100%. A lot of crazy people out there in the world, and you would. It's not a far stretch to think that somebody who's already crazy is going to be fascinated with aliens. I mean, it just doesn't seem like a far stretch, does it? But there's so many people at this point, credible people, and people that we can trust and take their word at it, that have seen things that they can't explain, that there's a reality to this. Your governments of the world have said as much. Now, I'm not one to trust the government's word on this, or really anything in general, and I would imagine most people aren't in this day and age. The distrust in the government is an all-time high, at least in our lifetime. If you're around my age, it's at an all-time high. And even the governments, though, the one thing that I do I'm not giving them credit's the wrong word, but even the government has admitted in front of the podium that there is a truth to this, that there's objects. We won't even call them crafts in this episode. We will just bring it down to the basics. There's a truth to the phenomenon. There's these objects, these things in the sky that are flying with impunity. We can't control them. We can't stop them. We can't analyze them. We don't know what they're doing. We don't know why they're doing it. We just don't know anything. They've been spotted around nuclear sites, around military bases, around training exercises, and civilian population, over our cities. They've been spotted all over the world, and I don't even know for how many years. Is it maybe just since the nukes went off, or has it been thousands of years? I don't know for sure, but definitely since the nukes have gone off, at the, was it 1945, 47, whatever, I can't remember the exact year, but you guys know once the nukes in Hiroshima and Nagasaki got dropped, the uptick in the UFO phenomenon hit like an all-time high, and it's pretty much been going up and up ever since, and we can just start at that point. There's a truth to this. Now, there's many, many theories, but we have to start at that point. So if someone thinks you're a kook or you're a weirdo for looking at this subject and you're just a little out there, it's just because of the stigma. It's not because of you personally. There's a stigma attached with this because of Hollywood and because of the lack of evidence and the lack of the government's transparency on this. That people just, they don't want to mess with it. They find it to be weird and far out there. It's equivalent to them to like ghosts or hell and heaven or whatever. The world has many different beliefs and theories, and you got to be open to it all. But there is that truth. There's something to this. Now, without calling them craft or aliens, let's just theorize what it is, because there's so many theories. I'm very open to hearing them, and at the end of the day, I don't ever sit there and say I know what it is. I think anyone who does in the public is kind of, I don't want to say stupid, but a little arrogant. I look around and I see everybody pretending to be an expert at everything, whether it be finances, relationships, fitness, business, a million different subjects. Everybody seems to know it all, and it blows my mind because I sit here and I'm like, I know nothing for certain about really anything. Very few things can I say for certain. One thing I can say for certain is that there is a truth to this. This isn't all made up. It's not just stealth planes from the government. It's not just these boring explanations that people come up with to discredit it. Now, let's start with the most boring possible theory. It is possible that this is adversarial technology or military technology. There's several reasons why I don't think this is the most probable, but I'm still open to hearing it. Maybe you guys believe this is the most probable theory, and I'm open to hearing your speculation. Put it in the comments below. Send me a message. Send me an email. I will listen to what you've got to say. But the adversarial technology theory, to me, doesn't make a whole lot of sense for a variety of reasons. Number one, we'll just cover the basics. If this is adversarial technology, it's clearly not just, if it's not, let's say United States has it, it's clearly not just United States because it's being flown all over the world, and also it's going over our own military sites and interfering with our own military. So it doesn't really make sense the military messing with its own military, at least not at a wide scale like it's been reported. So if it's technology that just humans possess and for whatever reason they don't want the public to know about it, maybe it's too dangerous, maybe they don't want us to know how they got it, whatever it is, why haven't they used it? Why hasn't it been used in a conflict? It's been around since World War II at the very latest. It's been around since World War II, post-World War II era. So why has it not been used in a conflict? We know that China, that is the leading theory that I hear. It's Russia or it's China. Why? Because those are the most dominant powers in the face of the planet other than the United States. So people say, oh, it's China. It's an advanced drone they have. They're ahead of us in drone and hypersonic technology. And while that may be true, they are ahead of us in hypersonic tech and drone tech from what I've heard. Don't know if it's a fact, but it is widely reported that that's the case. But if it is China, China wants to unseat the global dominance of the United States, and they're not shy about that. They talk about it pretty much all the time. It's like their favorite thing to talk about. They want to take down the United States. I don't think they want to do it kinetically at the top of their list. They much prefer to do it economically or whatever to make us at least go down to number 2, China number 1. I think Russia probably has a similar goal, and if it is them, why haven't they used it? And I don't mean why have they not just used it in a war, although that would make a lot of sense. I mean, we're still using AK-47s and tanks and all this stuff. If we really did have this technology, God can only imagine what weaponry is attached to whatever technology can do the kind of maneuvering and the kind of capabilities that this technology, I guess you can call it technology for lack of a better word, whatever it's possessing, it's clearly capable of more than what we've seen in our limited scope of this entire phenomenon. Not only why have they not used it in a kinetic sense, but let's rewind it back to February when China came out and did the surveillance of our nuke sites in the United States over Montana. They flew it over pretty much the whole damn country, and it was a big old balloon. It was nothing too fancy. It got fancy cameras and surveillance and monitoring. They could hear supposedly people in the bunkers below in the military bases. So whatever, that's the best they got, I guess, because why on earth, if you have these drones, this technology, these craft, whatever they are, if you have them, even if you're not going to use them to come fly 6 of them over and just eviscerate the White House or whatever it is that you have to do to take over the United States kinetically, if you're going to use them for things like surveillance, why would you be using a dang old balloon? The theory just doesn't make sense to me. It makes about as much sense as Project Bluebeam. Project Bluebeam is another one that I do think is possible. As I stated, I don't discount any of the theories, any of them, because we just know so little. We just know that it's a real phenomenon, and that's about it. We don't know anything else for certain, and as far as Project Bluebeam goes, that's kind of the prevailing theory on like TikTok and Instagram and all the stuff I see. I post my clips quite often, try to on a daily basis or near daily, and I see people all the time. They all shut up, man. This is just Project Bluebeam, or hey, I know you think this is aliens, but this is Project Bluebeam, man. The government's about to do some sort of mass hysteria event where they convince us that aliens are real, but really it's just drones or holograms. I believe is what the theory of Project Bluebeam is. They say that this is a organized event that's going to happen all over the globe to cause mass hysteria, to organize a one-world government, and to bring in some sort of new religion, discount things like Christianity and all these different religions in the planet, and kind of have us worship or at least fear these beings, these craft, this technology that is going to make this big display in the sky. Really, the government's got this technology. I mean, you guys have seen this stuff in like Shanghai, and also I believe China has done these sophisticated drones where they can make like all kinds of crazy shapes in the sky, and it does look believable. Like if they were going to do some sort of event, I understand the rationale of how somebody could potentially believe, hey, these are fake drones, this is a hologram projection in the sky, or a combination of drones together creating a hologram. Now, there's many reasons why I don't think that's plausible. One, I don't know how the government could organize such a event at a mass scale without some sort of hiccup in the event, like one hologram doesn't work and the whole light display shuts off, or it doesn't explain all the sightings that have happened from individuals to, like for myself personally, I've had a sighting years and years ago when I was about 16, 17 years old, and to tie that into Project Bluebeam, what did they do? A private little display so I could see it. I was the only person around. There was nobody else on the street. It was just me. Saw a giant orange orb appear out of nowhere, low in the sky, very bright, very big, and then just zap out of nowhere, and it was gone quick as that. Now, if this is a hologram, this is just them working on the development of Project Bluebeam. What do they have? Hologram devices all over the ground that they're going to spew up into the air. No one's going to spot that. No one's going to be able to see that it's fake. And they're going to usher in this New World Government through that. I think if you're going to usher in the whole New World Government, just to go off on a tangent, it'd be easier to do with just a kinetic war. World War II obviously brought on a lot of instability, a lot of economic uncertainty. If you're going to do such a thing as create a one world government, which I do believe is in their best interest, not ours, not in you or I's, but the government's best interest, would be a lot easier to control us all if we had all had a similar government that we were operating out of, not a democracy over here, an authoritarian regime over here, a dictator over here. It'd be a lot easier to control the masses, no doubt about it. But to do it with aliens, someone's going to have to convince me. I'm going to have to see something a lot more convincing than the theories I've been seeing about Project Bluebeam. But at the end of the day, as I said, I do believe it's on the list of possible theories. In today's episode, I would love for you guys to put in the comments section, what do you think this is? Is it Project Bluebeam? Is it adversarial tech? Let's move on to another one, the much Hollywood-centered focus. These are aliens from another galaxy, from another part of the solar system, or through a black hole, whatever. They're in this galaxy or another, and they're coming from Mars. The movie Mars Attacks and Independence Day. They're just coming from the moon or somewhere else. Hollywood has led us to believe that could be the case, and I think it's led to a lot of stigmatizing of this phenomenon. Is it possible? Yeah, it's possible, but listen to what Bill the Shill Nelson said during the NASA UAP, whatever you want to call it. I mean, it was despicable in my opinion. It was horrible. NASA never a straight answer, and they proved that to be true even in this latest whatever you want to call it. I forget the terminology they came out with, but their UFO UAP report basically came out and said, oh, it's not aliens. We have no proof it's extraterrestrials. For one, we never said it was extraterrestrials. We said this is non-human intelligence, and they did not deny that. They denied that this was extraterrestrial, and they said they had no evidence of it. The hilarious counterpoint that one of the reporters brought up was, well, if you don't know what it is, how can you say what it isn't? I mean, checkmate to that guy. I think it was James Fox that said it. What a great question. And, of course, they had no answer other than what Bill the Shill Nelson said, which was that for it to be a species from another galaxy or another part of the solar system, they'd have to be so sophisticated to travel the millions of light years to be able to make it to Earth. How would they find us? How would they get here? Who could possibly traverse such a vast system? And while that, if they are extraterrestrials, that is a valid point to bring up. But from the research that we've all seen coming out, so many whistleblowers such as David Grush coming out, it's more plausible that this is interdimensional, or in some, it's hard for me to even say interdimensional, because what does it mean? They're coming from the fourth dimension, fifth dimension. It's just, in my opinion, more likely that they're coming from somewhere close by. But with what we've seen in our limited scope of what this technology can do, it's not like they got to go from point A to point B like us merging on the highway and going from Ohio, where I'm at in Cincinnati, to Kentucky, and it takes X amount of hours. I mean, obviously, if you were to show 200 years ago somebody a car, they would not even be able to fathom. They wouldn't even be able to understand how on earth you're able to operate this machinery that takes you at the speed of 1,000 horses to wherever you're trying to go. So for us to be able to say that that seems improbable, well, you're basing it off of a ridiculous metric. You're basing it off of our human understanding, which is very limited in its scope. It's only based on past experience and past technology. That's all. We don't know anything in front of us. We only know what's behind us. And I do still think it's possible. To me, it is definitely possible that they're coming from another place. I mean, we don't see them here in Australia. We don't see them here in the United States. We don't see them in China waltzing around. So it does lead you to believe they could be coming from another planet. There's obviously the potential of other life on other planets. And NASA did say as much, but I think that's a good scapegoat to say, well, it's possible, but they'd have to travel so far and la-di-da. We have no proof of saying that. Well, that is one aspect of the phenomenon, that it is extraterrestrial and they're coming from another galaxy. And they have the advanced technology to get here, and if that is the case, I don't think it's out of the question at all. I mean, clearly, from what we've seen these craft do, from the Nimitz incidents to everything we've caught on camera to the government's own reports, clearly these craft have amazing capabilities to do things way beyond what we've seen from the public eye. Government reporters have said as much, that they have literally seen videos that the public has not been privy to. So at the end of the day, yes, it's possible that this is from another planet. That's one theory. So we got Project Bluebeam, man-made adversarial tech, and we've got extraterrestrials. Now, we also have reverse engineered tech coming from another unknown source. So let's say that humans have taken this. Some people, such as, I don't like to call him doctor. He's not a doctor anymore. But Stephen Greer, the very controversial figure in the UFO phenomenon, he says that governments have reverse engineered that. We've heard Bob Lazar say as much. They were attempting to reverse engineer us all the way back in the 80s and potentially even after Roswell. So that's possible as well, that this is now man-made tech, what we're seeing, and that previously came from, I guess, extraterrestrials or AI or some odd origins, but that what we're seeing now is not the same. It's not coming from those origins. It's coming from a human man-made version of it. That's also possible. But that leads you to the question of, okay, where'd they get it from? Where did they get this advanced technology? And why are they holding it back in not just a military sense, but in every sense, the economic sector? I mean, you got a lot of people who are very over-optimistic, in my opinion. I like to shoot it straight down the middle. I try not to be too positive, but also not too pessimistic. But you have some people think that these, if they are beings or aliens, that they're like these benevolent overlords who've been guiding society, and they're going to bless us with this advanced technology when we're ready for it. Right now, we're still a warring species, and we don't deserve this. We would just harm each other, which is probably true. But if it is the case that these are benevolent, I find that to be, okay, I guess we're diving into another tangent, that these are beings of some sorts, aliens, creatures, spirits, I don't know, ghosts, I don't know what you want to call them. But if there's some sort of aspect to like a being to this, like an actual physical entity, a creature, a humanoid, whatever, are they benevolent or are they evil? Are they malevolent? Or are they, as been often described, a cow may look at us, a lower species such as a cow is going to look at what we do to cows, put them in factories, chop them up and eat them. In their opinion, they're going to look at us and say, we are malevolent, we are evil, we need to be destroyed, we are bad to the bone. Look, and they would have all the evidence to really make their case. Look at the factories, look what we do to them, we harm them, we hurt them, and then we use them as sustenance. So for them to be malevolent or benevolent, good or bad, it's a matter of perspective. I thought David Grush's recent interview was very well thought out when he described that. To a lower species, a higher species may seem malevolent or evil when, in fact, maybe they aren't. It's just to our perspective. So if the cow looks at us, thinks we're evil. Us looking at aliens or beings or non-human intelligence, we can call it non-human intelligence, that's fair. We may look at them in such a simple category. They're good or they're evil, but maybe it's just their relationship to us is not so good. Maybe it's not that they are evil or they are good or they're looking out for us. I mean, we look out for a shepherd looks out for his flock before he slaughters them and makes a profit off of them and eats them. So in a sense, he's guiding them and protecting them for a certain amount of time, right? But ultimately, it's not for those animals' benefit. Just like it's possible that it's not for our benefit that these beings or non-human intelligence are looking out for us. So the good or bad is a simplistic view that it's very hard to make an analogy, or I'm sorry, not analogy, but a conclusion with. But I will say this. In my experience, when something's hiding, when a being or person or whatever organization is hiding something, it's typically because the revelation of whatever they're hiding would have a negative impact. So these beings, this non-human intelligence, if they are hiding, I find it more likely than not impossible that they're good, but I find it more likely than not that whatever it is rather distasteful to humans. Whatever it is, the revelation of such truth would be very negative for humanity. And that kind of leads you to believe, tying into the government secrecy, why is the government so hush-hush about it? Why are they so terrified about us finding out about it? Well, maybe it's because it reveals some sort of very uncomfortable truth, same as the cow learning he's going to the slaughterhouse, where he thought that was his care tender, thought that he was in the protection and under the blanket of safety with. Maybe that's a similar situation, and the revelation of it would open up a bunch of irreversible events, humanity discovering that not only is the government not the top of the food chain, but humanity as a whole is not the highest being like we've always been led to believe, like we've always been taught to believe. There's actually species, there's actually creatures, there's actually a non-human intelligence out there that far surpasses us, and our government, our militaries of the world can do nothing, can do absolutely zilch to protect us from it. Now that could be looked at as a very negative outcome of the revelation. So I think that leads to why the government keeps this secret. I think that is a very plausible theory as to why. So you've got everything from extraterrestrial to Project Bluebeam to adversarial technology to now interdimensional. Now, what is interdimensional? I am so dumb. Don't ask me. All I know is what I've heard. And I think that it's very possible that whatever this non-human intelligence is, and that is ultimately what I believe it is. Do I believe it's aliens? I don't know. I kind of believe it could be demonic, and I come into it with a certain bias because I'm a Christian, so I come into it through that lens, and I openly admit that. And I'm no expert. I think it could be what we equate as demons, some sort of entity that has kind of possessed the planet and has kind of been around since the beginning of mankind. It has kind of guided us in whatever nefarious ways that they do. I think that's very possible. But if it's interdimensional, they could be coming from within the earth. They could have been living within the oceans this entire time. The connection between these craft or objects and the sightings of them coming in and out of the ocean, I mean, it's by the thousands. It's been spotted over and over and over again. There's been government officials who have come out and literally said that they've seen evidence, they've seen video footage of classified material of triangular craft coming out of and back into the ocean, connecting to some sort of device. So, in my opinion, my humble opinion of somebody who does not know much about anything, I believe one of the most plausible theories that whatever this is, this non-human intelligence, whatever you want to classify it or categorize it as, it's coming within the earth, or at least within some sort of aspect of the planet. Maybe it's another dimension that we are just not privy to. We know that dogs can hear sounds that we can't hear, aka the dog whistle. We know that they can see a color spectrum that humans can't see. That doesn't mean that we think the dogs are fake or they're crazy. When the dog turns its head when you use that dog whistle, it's not because the dog's crazy, it's because he has access, he has the ability to look at something that the average Joe, humanity, doesn't. So that same analogy could totally relate to this phenomenon. Maybe they are simply hiding in a physical location, like within the Earth's crust, within the oceans. What do they say? The oceans are like 95% unexplored, and it is remarkable how uninterested the United States government and other governments of the world are in actually exploring the rest of that. I find that to be odd. Now, could that tie into the supposed treaties that David Grush mentions? Is there some sort of treaty where, hey, we stay out of your turf, you stay out of our turf? I think that's possible, man. I think the oceans are largely unexplored. I think we care more about exploring the damn moon than we do our own oceans. And it leads me to believe that those things could be hiding down there. It makes total sense. Maybe they can live in an atmosphere that humans can't. Or maybe they're in some sort of other dimension. I know you've heard probably the analogy of like if you were to draw a figure from the third dimension, it can be seen on the second dimension, but it's going to look different, and you can't see it in the higher dimension. I probably described that absolutely horribly. I'm sorry. But you get my drift, right? Maybe they are like the color spectrum, like the dog whistle. They're out there, and we just can't see them. Our technology can't see them, and maybe it never will be. Maybe it's more because it's more advanced, or maybe because it's on a whole other timeline that we just can't possibly even put it into a human category. I don't know, but I think of those, 4 or 5 theories, my personal opinion is that it's most likely that these have been here probably since the beginning of time, or at the very least, we attracted their attention when we became nuclear, when we had the power to destroy humanity, which we did not possess before. We had no capability to go around, storm all over the planet, and just eviscerate everybody. Now we could do that in 15 minutes. Now if the world said Control, Alt, Nuke, we could kill every single person in the planet, whatever, almost 8 billion people. We could do it in 30 minutes and nobody would survive. So maybe we attracted this non-human intelligence after the revelation, or after the, I guess you could say after the revelation of this technology. Maybe this non-human intelligence said, oh shit, we should probably pay attention. These monkeys can now kill each other. Now they have the capability, they've advanced, and they have the capability to cause such destruction that it can even impact our way of being. If they are living within the earth, it would be not in their best interest to let us nuke each other, right? Or if they are living in another dimension, we've heard that time and time again that the theory that our nuclear weapons somehow disrupt their craft, disrupt their technology, or maybe their place of living. We just don't know. But of these theories, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter which one's true because they're all fascinating. No matter what it is, that's my message for the day here on Mixed Martial Arts. You fellow Martians out there who are tuning into this, talk to your friends about this. Get people interested in it because whatever it is, it's fascinating. There's so many boring subjects in the world that people seem to be so immersed in. They're like AI, or I'm sorry, not AI. They're like NPCs, just like talking about those boring stuff. When in reality, there's clearly, not only can we say there's a reality to this phenomenon, but we can say there's like a reality to life itself, to the experience of life and consciousness that we just can't put our thumb on. It's like we live our normal lives in our routines that humanity has set up for us, but we know that there's something more. Some of us think of that in a religion sense. Some of us think of that in just a scientific discovery sense. We haven't discovered everything that there is to discover. Whatever it is, there's a truth out there, and we're only experiencing a fraction of it. So for people out there to not be open to this phenomenon or not be curious, it boggles the mind. I don't expect everybody to be doing podcasts like me about it, but this is one of the most fascinating things somebody can possibly discuss, and that's why I do this show. You guys know I talk about UFOs. I do UFC news because I love the UFC, and I love talking about geopolitics because I think the state of the world we're in right now is just fascinating times. But we got to keep this conversation going. We got to get people intrigued on this because more people getting aware of this and more people realizing that there is a truth to this. This isn't just hearsay. This isn't just kooks. This isn't just Hollywood. This is a weird combination of a lot of crazy things, and the truth of it, the revelation of the truth of it, could be very bad for humanity or very positive. Could it be the benevolent overlords bless us with the technology for free energy in the utopian world where we don't kill each other and we advance as a species? I guess it's possible. Is it possible these species are using us as sustenance? They're using us for genetic alteration. They're using us for some nefarious reason. We're an experimental playground for them. I think that's a little more possible. I'm open to whatever you guys think, but I want to have this conversation. I'm going to keep going. I love doing this show, and I love exploring this idea. If you guys would like to talk with me or others about this, I got a little group on Discord called Mixed Martial Arts. You just got to click the link in the description to this video. And we have 3 little subgroups for UFC, geopolitics, and the UFO phenomenon. And we talk about this stuff on a daily basis. Share news, ask questions, share our own personal experiences, share our interest in the topic. At the end of the day, if you guys are having trouble talking to people who care about any of this stuff, then it's a good idea to join the group because there's other people who care about what you care about. And I find it to be utterly interesting to hear other people's perspective. So thank you guys so much for tuning in for another episode. Sorry I didn't have any headlines. I just wanted to ramble about how interesting this stuff is. So do me a favor and click subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. I really want to hit 1,000 subscribers. And it's a free, quick, and easy way to support what I'm doing here. If you guys are listening to the podcast apps, I really want to grow the audio-only format of the show. So just click subscribe or follow on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, so on and so forth, and leave me a 5-star review. That helps put me in the algorithm so that other people could scroll across the show and say, what the hell is Mixed Martial Arts? And click it and see yours truly and hopefully enjoy the content. So thank you guys. We'll be back tomorrow with another episode. Don't know exactly what time. I'm going to do a Halloween haunted thing. My wife has never done any Halloween stuff. She came here from Brazil this year, so we're going to go do some fun Halloween stuff at Kings Island here in Ohio. So thank you guys for tuning in. Be back with another episode. Peace out, Martians. Have a good one.